Hello there, and welcome back to my little bit of Mexico. There was, and in actual fact there still is, one question that my students always ask me. And that question is, teacher, is there anything that you miss from your country? I guess in the beginning, there were things I missed far more than I do now. I've kind of adapted more to life in Mexico and realized, well, I'm not in England anymore, therefore I can't get those things. But when I get them, it's rather like man discovering fire. It's like I found Brussels sprouts the other day. That was rather surprising. And leeks. It's amazing how you kind of get surprised by little things that were kind of insignificant in Britain, but when you find them, it is lovely. I'm surprised and kind of delighted by those simple things in life. Everybody, when they move to a new country, they miss those certain things in life. I'm sure there are many Mexicans who might move to Britain and they will miss a good salsa, especially a salsa macha or the various kinds of chilies and a mole maybe. But I think above all they probably miss a bolillo, to be honest. And I would too. I think the thing I miss the most, and most British people do, is fish and chips. Yes, I know that I can make it myself. It's not difficult, as both fish and the potato do exist here in Mexico, and without Mexico, of course. The chips wouldn't exist in Britain, which are a real British thing. The British go mad for chips. Sorry, fries for people looking in from the United States. And we are mad about the chip in Britain. It's an obsession. Not a healthy obsession, but a rather delightful obsession. But making your own fish and chips isn't quite the same as getting them from a chippy, the name we commonly use for a fish and chip shop in Britain. There's something about getting fish and chips from a British chippy that is indescribable. You get them from a chippy and they are totally different to when you make them yourself. I would probably say, and I mean no offense here, that it's like getting tacos al vapor from a stand, and you just can't really replicate that flavor. That taco is just so different from a taco stand than it is if you try to make them yourselves, especially ones that are filled with chicharron. Oh dear. There is another thing, which is the full English, which is the true English breakfast. It's another of those things that I kind of miss, even though I do manage to make this whole thing myself. And it's a rather glorious thing, if a bit on the heavy side, especially here in Mexico. These days, though, huevos rancheros is my go-to breakfast. It's much lighter and far easier to make. The whole business of making an English breakfast, or a full English as we call it, is just so time-consuming. I don't know why it is. Probably why we don't eat it every single day. But there is one place in Mexico City, and it's called the Duke of Lisbon, and it's on Calle Lisboa in the center of Mexico City. And they only serve the full English there at the weekends on Saturday and Sunday mornings. I'm not sure it's the whole day. I mean, they even have black pudding. Ooh, I must visit the place. Yes, I must visit the place and the rest of Mexico City too. I haven't been to the capital for quite some time. Yeah, and it's such a wonderful city. When shall I go? So, dear subscribers, which places would you recommend to me as where I should visit Mexico City? Especially for maybe a weekend or that little bit longer for a visit, maybe a week. I await your comments. I'm sure there will be many good ones, to be honest. Another of those things which is very British, and it's a craving of the morning, especially the weekend, especially on a Saturday, is marmalade and toast, or rather toast and marmalade. And this has since been addressed by having found the lovely mermelades and very sharp jams, or mermelada means jam, from the lovely place called Casa Bialba. It fulfills my craving of tea, toast and marmalade on a Saturday. But I still crave those lovely marmalades from England, such as Wilkins and Roses. Something that I love are sausages. And I don't know, maybe this was the thing I missed the most when I arrived here. I just couldn't get those sausages that I love, those very meaty, porky sausages that Europeans are used to. I could really just find those pink tubes, whatever they are, which just don't have any flavour. I mean, those things from Zwan, Chen, and all those others, they're not really sausages, they're just meat sticks, in my opinion. Sorry to offend. The things just don't have any flavour. Just what are they made of? Now though, my love of sausages has been satisfied. Generally because the butcher I use, and I showed him in the Chicharron video, sells this wonderful Brazilian chorizo. Very meaty, very porky. It's absolutely gorgeous. They also have a very nice Spanish chorizo as well, like a very firm variety. And of course they have the Mexican ranchero, the firmer variety. Because there are two types of chorizo in Mexico. There's the firm variety and there's the soft kind. And I love both. I mean, the soft variety is so good in the morning, mixed with eggs or potatoes to make papas con chorizo or huevos con chorizo. Two dishes that I just love at breakfast, as well as huevos rancheros, of course. But in terms of those firmer chorizos, I'm absolutely in love with the green chorizo from Toluca. I get them sometimes in the Soriana here, and they are gorgeous, but you have to be in Toluca, and I have to visit there. Well, I'm going to Mexico City, so Toluca is just a train ride out. Oh, they have trains, apparently now, to visit the place and stock up on some green chorizos. I'm looking forward to that. There is one thing about me, and that is I'm a real cheesivore, meaning I love cheese. And in all honesty, I haven't really found many strong cheeses here in Mexico. I mean, I love queso Oaxaca, I love a Manchego, I love Chihuahua cheese, queso crema, and others. But above all, I love a cheese that is very strong. I love that very sharp, tangy kind of cheese, especially a good cheddar. Or I should say, my home cheese, Red Leicester. You just don't see that anywhere outside of my home country. But when it comes to cheddar, you generally just get here in Mexico that American excuse for cheddar, or their idea of what cheddar is. Do the Americans really know how to make cheese? I don't know. A lot of the time it's red and tasteless. I try to avoid it at all costs. But I was in my local Soriana, I think it was about a month ago, maybe a little bit before then, that I was mooching around the cheese counter, where most people can find me probably in the supermarket, and I came across 3 types of cheddar by a company called Navarro. And there was a mild, a strong, which they called añejo, and very strong, extra añejo. And I went for the extra añejo, the very strong variety, and it was absolutely gorgeous. It had a very nice depth of flavor, nice bite to the cheese. It was simply gorgeous cheese. So really the 2 brands that I love here in Mexico are Navarro and Carranco. And Carranco make a nice range of cheeses. And in a future video, I'll try and do a comparison of the Navarro cheeses and the Carranco cheeses. There is one Mexican cheese that I adore, and it's called cotija, and it hails from the state of Michoacan. And it is a lovely, crumbly cheese, a little bit like, I don't know, maybe Wensleydale, a little bit like a white Stilton, but it has a nice sharpness, almost like a Parmesan. And it is a wonderful cheese. I'm finding some very nice cheeses in Mexico now. These are satisfying my cravings. I must visit the town of Cotija, as well as Querétaro again, which has a very good wine and food, mostly cheese, festival. I can't remember when it is, June or July. Anyway, it looks like my list of places to visit in 2026 is increasing. But when it comes to cheese, there is one kind of cheese that I just adore, and that is blue cheese. And you get maybe Danish blue triangles appearing in some supermarkets, but you don't really see many. And I don't know why. I don't know. People tend to just have blue cheese if it's like a sauce, something you put on a burger or whatever. But you don't really see much blue cheese. Maybe a blue cheese dressing on a salad, but I don't know why in Mexico blue cheese just isn't so popular. But I don't know why there isn't a Mexican blue cheese. Kind of surprising when you consider the past with French influence. And one thing I really miss is a good Stilton. You can find a Roquefort or a Gorgonzola at times in supermarkets, but it's almost as though you need to take a bank loan out to buy the stuff. It's so expensive. And don't get me started on Parmesan, especially good Reggiano. It's so expensive. But I was trolling through the internet, and you know how it is, you come across things by accident. And I came across a place in Mexico City called Lactography. And they both produce, I'm not sure they produce, but they certainly stock many wonderful cheeses from here in Mexico, from various parts, Oaxaca, Chiapas, and others. And also I think they import some European cheeses from France and Italy. And just looking at the images on their website, I was kind of drooling. They have some wonderful cheeses. Now that, I don't know, there seems to be this wave in Mexico where people are now into artisanal foods like cheese, and especially beer, but also breads as well. There's a very nice place here in Monterrey that's just called Bread. And they make the most wonderful croissants and other breads. And they really build on Mexico's bread culture. But yeah, I'm glad that the new Gen Zs or Gen Zs have now found good food. Although they should also look at tradition of what Mexico produced and produces. So yeah, I'm loving Mexican cheese, and along with those previous places I mentioned in Mexico City, I must go and visit Lactography. I mentioned my love of sausages, as they are a key part of what I've mentioned, the full English breakfast. But there are two other key ingredients. One is bacon, and the other is black pudding. Let's start with the second, which is black pudding. Yeah, it may sound a hideous idea, but it's a sausage made predominantly with blood. Here in Mexico, it's called morcilla, which is the Spanish name. And I've tried, you can get some morcilla here, but it's not the same as the black pudding. There's also moronga, which is kind of the same, but it's more like a soft, it's difficult to describe it, but it is rather nice. So that kind of works well, but it's difficult to find. I think there's a place up the road which sells something like that. I must try and get some. And bacon is the other key ingredient to a full English. And yes, I know there is bacon here in Mexico, but why does Mexico have to have that American-style crap? You know, pieces of fat with little bits of meat attached to it. And American bacon really is terrible. It has no flavor other than salt. It really isn't that great a bacon. And I don't know why you don't see as much Mexican bacon. Although in my butcher, they sometimes have some, and it is rather good. And there is also a brand called Campestre, and their bacon is far and away superior to the ones by Chen Zhuan and all those others that you see on the shelves. And And it is such a great bacon. It has flavour and it is very good. It's a great alternative and a great thing to add to a full English in the Mexican style. But above all, I really miss good mustard. Why that sweet yellow gloop that Americans call mustard, made by Frenchies and others, are so popular in Mexico, I can't understand. Especially when here in Mexico, people love a good strong heat, as in a salsa. I don't know. For me, mustard should really have good flavour and heat. For me, Coleman's mustard, Coleman's English mustard, is something that is like no other mustard. It's not at all like an American mustard. This is a mustard with absolute attitude. Actually, I've watched many trend videos where Americans try Coleman's English, and they're like shocked by the absolute strength of it, especially the powdered variety. So now I make my own mustard, and I sometimes give versions to friends. It's all handmade stuff. Sometimes with chilies, black pepper mixed through the mustard. But I buy mustard in powder form. Here we are. It looks like looks a bit like couscous, and I did make the mistake of thinking this was the couscous. It didn't really make for a good dish, and you just need to mix it with a bit of water. Beer sometimes works with it. A little bit of turmeric to give a little bit more yellowness. But I'm not going to have the whole spoon. You see Americans putting a whole spoon and then putting it in their mouth. A little is better, rather like salsa. Now, rather like a good salsa, a good mustard should catch you in the back of the throat and clear your sinuses. Probably good for my cold. That is a sign of a good mustard. That is lovely. I made that this afternoon. So please like and subscribe from those buttons down below, wherever they are. Thank you all for watching. Bye for now.